With our press briefing, may we call on Dr. Luis Alarcon, the head of the Microelectronics Department, University of the Philippines, and director of the Center for Integrated Circuit and Devices Research. Dr. Alarcon.
Okay, good morning. So, one is my first media briefing, so be kind. And the second is, good morning, and I'm really glad that you guys are here. So what I'll be doing is, since I'm talking about IC design, integrated circuit design, maybe I'll spend something like 3 minutes just to sort of review IC design. The teacher in me says you need a review. That's always nice. But the important thing is, okay, I sort of want to emphasize some of the opportunities and stuff that why we are excited about IC design. Right? And the third is, okay, how can we develop this? And maybe in the end, I'll give one example of a success story. Okay, so one very interesting thing is everyone knows what this is. Yes? So people have used this for the longest time. We use this to charge our phones. Right? So what does that have to do with IC design? But the other picture, everyone knows what that is. It turns out that is the guidance computer of the Apollo 11. It's the computer that got us to the moon. Not us, but obviously humans to the moon. And if you look at the two things now, the power plug that you're using to charge your phones is more than 500 times faster than the computer that got the Apollo astronauts to the moon. And if you do the computation, to actually get to the moon, the Apollo has something like 4 computers. So you actually just need 4 of those power plugs, and you can actually get the moon. But that is obviously theoretical. But let's think about it. How did we get from there to there? Where the thing that was most prized in the 1970s is something that we just throw away every so often. Just because of integrated circuits. So hopefully that's a nice segue. So that's why we're excited, right? So the development of technology with integrated circuits are actually surprisingly fast, right? So what are integrated circuits? And you've seen, right? So let's go over very quickly. You've seen car controllers, obviously your cell phones, washing machines. I couldn't think of other household appliances like fine. Their computer, and maybe a nice Starlink antenna. And all of those things, when you start opening the thing, right? So this is the problem with IC design. You don't see it. Right? You don't see integrated circuits by itself. You normally see it in products. But where are the integrated circuits here? They're the black thingamajigs in that circuit boards. Right? And why are they integrated circuits? Because if you zoom in a bit closer and remove the plastic package, right? So you just destroy the thing or remove that very carefully, you actually get to expose a piece of silicon inside or a piece of semiconductor. That's the actual integrated circuit. Everything else around that is packaging, right? So integrated circuits are basically those small chips that contain millions or even trillions of components, or billions of components. And they allow us to do significant things in computation, communication, and all of that. And if you think about it, all our modern electronics are based on integrated circuits. Right? That's what powers everything. And what normally you see, you could also say that all future developments will also be due to integrated circuits. Right? So you use integrated circuits to actually build computers and use your computers to build better integrated circuits, and so on and so forth. Okay, so hopefully that is a sort of 3-minute thing on circuit design or integrated circuits. Let's go a bit deeper, right? So if you go to, if you look at this circuit board, there's sort of a nice little IC right in the middle. So if we zoom in there, around the package, you actually see that small piece of silicon, right? And just a plug, this is actually again designed in BTD. And if you actually go deeper, you actually see some of the features on the integrated circuits, right? All these devices, transistors, and whatever that give you functionality that enable you to communicate, to compute, and to do stuff. Now, what is IC design? Anyway, so it's actually on the other direction, right? So we start with a design of that IC. And then you fabricate that, have that fabricated, and you actually get the physical silicon chip. And in this case, it's around 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters. And then you do packaging and assembly. Assembly means, okay, I put that chip in that package and then put in the connections. And then you package that into this whole thing. And then after that, obviously, you have to figure out if it works or not. Right? So, and then you get it. So hopefully this also gives you a nice overview of our semiconductor industry. We go from the design, the fabrication, packaging and assembly, and test. Right? So this is how we sort of think about this. And again, why are we excited about this? This is always because it turns out that with Sadie's graph, electronics and semiconductors account for a lot of our expense. And if you sort of did not notice before, electronics and semiconductors, since we're talking about millions, billions of transistors, these are very complex devices. And if you have very complex and sophisticated devices, you actually need the manpower to design, to package, to test, to assemble, all of that. And so let's, just bear with me on the whole sophisticated, complex, and thing, because we do have a very big problem. Why? We want a lot of the high-tech stuff. But if you look at how many, high-tech, quote-unquote, people we have, right? How many masters and PhD graduates or students we have, we're actually at that bottom, right? At the bottom of that list. How many full-time researcher equivalents we have per million of population? Okay? And that's actually disturbing. And let's just sort of understand the magnitude. UP Diliman can graduate something like 100 MS PhD engineers per year. It adds 1 to that number. Okay? So that's how far behind we are from Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, and so on. And this is the thing, right? We want high-tech. Our industry is based on high-tech. It's 70% of what we're exporting. But we don't have the manpower to support that. And that is sort of, again, discouraging. But again, not always lost. So, but we want to identify, again, we do have this severe lack of manpower. And I'm sure you've noticed that if we are sort of in this list and we are at the bottom, the next people on that list are our other ASEAN people, right? You sort of get limited opportunities when you're sort of not on top of that list. And let us go through, some of the things you probably heard. So in the news, you say, okay, Microsoft announces this much investment in Malaysia. Amazon says, okay, I'll invest this much. Microsoft, again, I'll invest this much. Nvidia does this. Apple does this. Why do you think that is? These are all high-tech companies. Why would they go here if you don't have the high-tech manpower? And that's a problem we really want to solve. Okay, so we sort of shifted from that high-tech industry thing and then going back and forth to IC design. But let's just really focus on IC design because that's what we're here. Why do we need graduate level people in IC design? And it's just one thing. It's the complexity of IC design right now. So, to address the complexity, so what's the difficulty? Huh? So the first thing is that IC design is what people call at the top of the food chain. You actually need a lot of things to get to IC design. And the second, so you don't have to really worry about all those things, but it's just to make a point. But the second really is your circuits, your integrated circuits are becoming very, very complex. I'll show you a graph from Intel, okay, showing where they want to be in something like 2030. Right now we have 1 billion transistors on chip. In 2030 they want to put 1 trillion transistors on chip. And to put that in perspective, 1 billion transistors, I can actually create a computer that is almost equivalent to a rat brain in terms of computational complexity. 1 trillion computer exceeds what you theoretically need to model or to mimic a human brain. And that's how complex we're looking at. That's the complexity of the things we're looking at. Okay? So, a lot of times when people tell me, okay, why focus on the grad level? It's just that the complexity is so high that the undergrad curriculum, cannot cope, right? It's outside the scope of your undergrad, just because of this much complexity. And so that's where we sort of started thinking, what can we do, right? What can we do to start addressing this and maybe get the ball rolling and try and expand. So first of all, when we say IC design, we sort of look at IC and look at the whole thing. But the second word there is design. So what does IC design allow you to do? Okay? Because if you don't do IC design, you can do electronics. But what you do is, I'll just get whatever IC is available and build my product. That's perfectly fine. But the uniqueness of IC design, what can you actually design? You actually get to design next generation things that have not been done before. Right? And that's why we're all very excited. Okay. So one of the efforts that we're trying to do to address this graduate level manpower, as Namni just mentioned earlier, is our CIDER program. It's a USD-funded program, the Center for Integrated Circuits and Devices Research. And the main idea is, can we pool together the resources of various universities? And we get initially, a group of 7 universities with IC design, okay, and try to come up with some sort of a standardized level of development. Okay? So we call that this mirror lab ecosystem. So we set up different labs, approximately the same skill level, the same capabilities, and start churning out grad students. So the idea is this is going to be a platform for graduate level manpower development. And it's nice. It sort of works very well so far. We share classes. We share resources like equipment. We share professors. which is actually the most important thing. Right? It's very hard to start a graduate program with 2 professors. So the question is, how do you make 2 professors look like 6 or 8 or 10? You share. Right? So this is something that we are very happy about. But since it's graduate level, right, the difference between, again, a graduate level and undergrad is, in undergrad, you are in information absorption mode. Right? When you get to the grad level, you're in information generation mode. You start developing new things. And to be able to do that, you cannot decouple the research from the program. Right? And this is what the whole CIDR is all about. And we're very happy that aside from the universities, we have our industry partners, Scimex, ABI, eSilicon, Lattice, and all of these semiconductor IC design companies. We're very happy that they're very, very supportive. As well as some our government partners like the USP. We're working as well with the Space Agency and the Advanced Science and Technology. So again, it's trying to bring a lot of people together because ultimately it boils down to we need to generate critical mass. Okay, so another set of things that we're doing, how can we extend CIDR? So this is where we're working with DTI, DOI, and some of the other government agencies, is maybe that we can extend CIDR at the national level, right? It's not just a small program under UTD, but can we make it larger? So we're looking at maybe a national graduate program in IC design. Makes sense, right? Where either you can take the program in any of the schools, you can share, you can, as long as you can get this nice quality across the board. A national fellowship program for IC design. And that's nice, right? So that means if you want to develop graduate programs in IC design, we should be able to help. And if you want to develop faculty in IC design, we should also be able to help. And again, it's very hard to separate the graduate program from research. So you have to have a way to support graduate research. And again, just like other countries, sometimes, in this case, it does make sense to have an oversight or a body that actually manages all of these programs. Okay, so far, right? We sort of presented what's IC design, what we think are the problems, and then how we can address them. Right? And I sort of promised a success story, so I'll just first of all, do a nice little ad. Okay? So this is the microelectronics IC design group for UTD. 6 faculty members, right? And soon to be 7. Well, that's nice. And these 6 faculty members have been working tirelessly for the past X decades to try and generate students, right? And so far, we have a handful of students generated, right? Maybe on the average, 10 to 20 a year. But that is significantly small, right? And alarmingly small in terms of our national situation. However, with that handful of graduate students and 6 faculty members, we actually have an interesting success story. One success story, because we've been working with Analog Devices Philippines for the past decade, and they just sent me this slide last year and said, yeah, Luis, this is nice because with our collaboration, we actually reached a milestone. I said, what milestone? $1 billion. Huh. I didn't see any of this. So, well, why present this? Because I'd like to show a timeline. Okay? Really, the first thing was we had a project with UST called the Smart Wire Program, which is actually the chip that I showed earlier. Right? It allowed, it's a nice sensor chip with communication, computing, whatever on that thing. And we started a lot of the research programs for a batch of graduate students with that particular program. ADI starts formal collaborations with UP and hires 99% of our master's and PhD students since 2014. And yes, 10 years later, they break the $1 billion mark. And this year, or last year, they announced that, okay, because of that, ADI will fund another $200 million for ADI. So this is sort of just to illustrate what grad level engineers, what grad level IC designers can do. So I'll end this with just one thing that we can think about. If we did that with 6 faculty members and something like less than 100 grad students, just imagine what we can do with 100 faculty members and 1,000 grad students a year. So that's pretty much what I want to say. So thank you very much for listening.